is broadcasting. There we go. Good evening, Hall of Fame Dynasty members. I'm glad to see you once again. And this week we will be going through the NHL and Week 10. So it's been a hell of a week, as you guys all know. Obviously, we've been really busy with trades. Kind of started with the baseball winter meetings, and we've seen a lot of activity. So honestly, it's been a lot of movement between all sports. Not so much NFL as we are getting into the semifinals this week. So before we get into that, why don't we go into the hockey? And I've got Mac joining me again this week. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Mac.
Yes, I'm back this week, and we'll hopefully be back for the weeks coming forward for hockey and NFL playoffs possibly again. You know I'm out.
And obviously, Chris is wanting to talk shit since he actually won. I was actually surprised he got that big of a lead as well.
My Hail Mary plays did not work out for me as I wanted them to. Not even close.
Well, especially Funchess. And there was a guy at my work that he played him and didn't know that he was going to sit, lost $1,000 on it. I don't know if I could ever do that. But yeah, we are down to our final four there. It is Jared, Keith, Chris, and myself. Obviously, Atlanta Chris, not LA Chris. But down to the final four, and I will have the previews ready hopefully by Thursday since I'm off the next couple of days from work. So I don't know what suits you, Mac, but we can always do that on Thursday if we want to get that out before Thursday Night Football since it is a good matchup.
Yep, we'll for sure talk about it and see.
All right, so why don't we move on to NHL and actually get to what we wanted to do tonight and kind of talk about obviously what's gone on in the last week, and it's been fairly interesting. If I can get this going, and I didn't hit the right. I do this every time. There's always one thing or another. Present, and there we go. All right, so like I said, we just finished week 10. We're in week 11, and once we get through this week, we will officially be halfway through this regular season. We have 22 weeks, and it's been not just active on the waiver wire, but trade activity as well. You yourself moved Ryan Donato to the Nashville Predators. We saw Nathan McKinnon get traded, which was a blast, from the Hurricanes to the Avalanche for Jonathan Drouin and Josh Bailey in a blockbuster deal. Ironically, Josh Bailey is on the waiver wire now, only a couple days later. I know you moved Ryan Donato because he was getting close to that 26-game mark. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, he was a part of, I forgot exactly what the deal was for Mike Clevenger. I don't know exactly. But I had to move Donato. I was trying to get him to be a part of any deal I was making because I didn't have room on my roster whatsoever to put him up there. I didn't feel like dropping anybody I had, so I had to move him. That McKinnon trade, I tried to break that up. I tried my hardest to break up that goddamn trade. Keith is such a goddamn Colorado homer. I couldn't convince him. Duran. I was like, I love Duran so much. Please give him to me. No, fuck you. Couldn't let you have McKinnon, but didn't work out.
Well, he saw right through too. You were like, I want Druin. You actually do like him, but honestly, you tried to break it up. Didn't work the way you thought it would.
Saw right through my play. Oh boy.
And then the Avalanche felt that they were pretty deep at the NHL defenseman spot, obviously, as they move Erik Karlsson to the Golden Knights in a deal. And then I moved Ryan Ellis and some other pieces outside of hockey for Colin Miller and Evgeny Dadanov. Left wing has been one of my weakest spots this year, and I figured I could take the hit at defense, especially since I realized I have so many Nashville guys. I think I had 3 or 4 before I traded Ellis. So obviously spread out my team a little bit more, help with starts every week. So took a hit at defensemen, but I've got a couple of guys in my prospects that I think will come up either this year or next year that can always fill that spot for Miller if I have to. And because of what happened this week, the Chelios division has gotten really, really interesting. You and I both know, Mac, that we started at the bottom of the barrel. We had some really bad luck to start the year. And it of course, we saw Sean start 4-0. We saw, I think the Vegas Knights were 3-1 at one point. It looked like they were going to run away with the division, but it's a really tight race between you, me, Sean, and Chris. We are all within one game of each other, and I mean, we could see a bunch of us at 6-4 this week, or actually, sorry, 6-5. If you and I could win, and if the Lightning can knock off Chris and his Golden Knights, could have three of us tied up at the top. So that'll be pretty interesting. And of course, Jared, as it seems with every sport, is always chasing Keith. Ducks sit at 8-2 after this week, and I'm really looking forward to week 16 because that's when they play each other again.
That'll be a blast. Those two are such a rivalry in every single sport. It's fantastic. I love that they're always they're right next to each other. I don't know what happened. They're right next to each other constantly.
I think the only one that Keith trails in is NBA with his Denver Nuggets behind the Toronto Raptors of Jared. So those two are always fun to watch, especially since they are in the same division in every league. That definitely makes for a fun rivalry everywhere. So mentioning Keith, obviously, he's the first matchup that we'll talk about this week. His Colorado Avalanche took on the Tampa Bay Lightning, almost doubled the Lightning score. Not much that they could have done. Part of it was due to the fact that the Lightning did not set their lineup for a part of this week, and I know it was Tampa Bay would be Steve, getting him integrated into the league. So, I mean, that's part of it, is getting him used to it. So learning everything about Fantrax, about Slack is a lot in 1 week. But we're glad to have you, Steve. So why don't you go ahead and talk about this matchup, Mac?
Absolute shit stomping. It was unreal. What's actually pretty interesting to see is both of them only had one goalie win this week, and they have 63 players, and the Lightning only starting 39. Very crazy to see that Keith only could pull out one goalie win this week, coming from Tuukka Rask, who has in real life not been great, and Yaroslav Halak is taking. He's pushing for the starting position there in Boston. Yaroslav Halak has been in the league forever, and so it's crazy to see him coming after Tuukka Rask's position. Tuukka Rask has been unreal in the past few years, but slowly is becoming kind of shareable. His goalies, his team is fantastic. He lacks in the goalie position. Jimmy Howard's old as shit. Carter Hutton is on Buffalo, which isn't a great team. He's kind of a backup goalie. Their goalie situation needs to be figured out there if Buffalo wants to become a good team. Doing fantastic. Just there's no way their goalie situation is gonna withstand the rest of the league. And Tuukka Rask, like I said, losing that starting Yaroslav Halak. And who the fuck David Ritchie is? I think he's a backup for Calgary.
Yep, he is their backup.
Weird goalie start there, but yeah, crazy to see him only getting one goalie win with the 6-3 starts this week.
Well, and they were fairly close in goalie points. I mean, the only difference, surprisingly, especially like you said, that he only had one goalie win on the week, but he somehow started more guys and also had nine goals allowed compared to 14. I mean, neither played stellar, but they just couldn't get the win this week. Very tough, and it seems like we've seen a lot of bad goalie play this year, really. It's been tough. A lot of the goalies are obviously getting used to the new pads, smaller pads, so they're not able to take up as much of the goal as they're used to. It makes a difference, but I mean, other than that, there's not much to talk about with this matchup. Obviously, more starts equates to more shots on goal, better opportunities, but the fact that even without that, you had the Avalanche average almost a full point per start more than the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think a lot of that is due to the fact of switching of owners and inability to keep owners in the franchise. So obviously our waiver wire got thin fairly quick this year. Everybody was able to jump on the hot starts and whoever is playing well this year. So we'll move on.
The only thing holding Keith back from being dominant is those goals.
Exactly. And it's like I said, it's been tough for everyone to find this year, unfortunately, really. We'll move on to the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers. Victor basically gave the victory to Sean, gave him a bye week. I think he only had 38 starts on the week, but with the almost 100-point win for the Carolina Hurricanes, they move up to 6-4. The Rangers move down to 3-7, which we kind of knew the Rangers were going to have a bad or a rough start to the year until they found their groove because of the fact that they traded away their first 4 rounds of picks. Obviously, they've been pretty active on the waiver wire for the most part, but there's only so much you can do there unless you're stashing some very, very good prospects in the end. So 223 points from skaters for Carolina Hurricanes compared to 138 for the Rangers. Over a full point per start more for the Hurricanes, even though they didn't set their lineup as much. They just did enough to get the win. Why don't you go ahead and talk about what you saw in this matchup, Mac?
Don has built himself a pretty good team. He traded away. He's though, so I think we'll see the demise of his team here shortly in the NHL with trading away McKinnon, who has been the probably best fantasy hockey player this year. Trading Pedersen to me, I love it. Thank you. He immediately for me. I'll talk about that in my matchup. But Sean's doing himself a solid good team. They slowly kind of train away, trying to get better at MLB. And we'll see if that works out for them. The Rangers, like you said, they trade away their first round picks. It didn't help them that Duchesne was out most of this week, only got 3 points in the week. That would have helped them a little bit more point wise. But if like you said, they're not going to start their lineup or set their lineup. You're not going to win. Big week from Parise though with the Wild. There, Kessel always going to put up big points. Hot dog, man. That's about it. Not much to say here once again because you're not going to say your lineup. It's not going to be not much to talk about per se.
The one thing I will say, I was surprised to see Varlamov perform as poorly as he did with minus 2.2 points on the week, 11 goals allowed versus 44 saves. I mean, Sean's lucky that it really didn't matter this week because he was facing the Rangers. 11 goals allowed is rough for Varlamov, who's been one of the best goalies on the year. He's been solid. He's been, I think, the number 1 or number 2 goalie pretty much all year. But really, really down week. Yeah. Hard to see that. I'm sure Keith knows that pretty well with that being his Colorado Avalanche. So that was probably one of the biggest things that jumped out to me when I looked at this matchup.
Yeah, for sure. Varlamov, fantastic goal this year. He's coming off a fantastic team. Sad to see him give up that many fucking goals.
Next, we had the Anaheim Mighty Ducks taking on the LA Kings, who they've just got into the league as well, just like Steve did. We've got Chris running the LA Kings. Dropped down to 3-7. Tough start for him, mostly due to inactivity due to previous owners. But I will say it's not a bad loss. It looks like it on paper, but he's getting used to it. He's getting in. He's getting his team set up how he wants. And the Ducks have actually been obviously one of the best teams this year, especially when it comes to scoring. They're putting up at least 320 points a week. So why don't you go ahead and take this one over, Mac, while I pull this up on my screen.
LA Kings, it's nice to see them come and set their lineup. Have 52 start. Doesn't help that Patrice Bergeron was out the whole week. He's a big producer for Boston and for that fantasy team. Him being out the whole week doesn't help whatsoever. What helps the LA Kings a lot, even though they lost this matchup, is we talk about those goalies. It's hard to find a good producing goalie this year. They've got a good set of them. They've got a solid set of goalies here. Bobrovsky's having a tough year at the Blue Jackets. If the LA Kings decide to hold on to him, he won't be at the Blue Jackets anymore this year, I do not think. So he's a solid hold and will, within the future, for sure be a solid play at goalie because he's going to be with a far better team in the future after the year. But he's got Holpe, he's got Ben Bishop, Jacob Marshall's been halfway decent for Canucks because I think they've had this year. But I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, that's a team that auto drafted like half the NHL draft, and they had like 7 goalies.
Yeah, that was one of the things that it did, especially with us waiting and then jumping into auto draft very quickly. For whatever reason, Fantrax just decided goalie after goalie after goalie, and we wanted to sit there, but we didn't want to I mean, that's probably something we could have done ourselves and assigned one, but we just kind of let it go at that point because that wasn't until later in the draft, though. So, of course, it was just kind of all a crapshoot from the 15th round on at that point.
Mm-hmm. And so, thankfully, now the LA Kings, after that owner's left, has a solid goalie if they decide try to build up in another league. They have good pieces there to trade off in the goalie position. Also, Ovechkin putting up a solid week like he always does. Brad Marchand, another solid week. He's got some solid old players he could build around them if he wanted to and put up a very good competitive team for sure. But the Ducks, like you said, Line A only putting up 5 points this week is absurd. Crazy to see him not producing. Who's got Thomas Hertl with 30 points, the big week for Hertl. Connor McDavid, having Connor McDavid's like a fucking cheat code. He's like 21 years old and he's the best player, all right, in the game. So having him as a cheat code, he's gonna help you win every week, except and Eichel as well. The Ducks also have built a very solid team here, so I predict them winning a lot more than those boys.
And I realized that I left Connor McDavid out as one of the 3 stars of the week. I must have overlooked his 31 as you mentioned it. He had 31 points, so he would be the #1 star of the week. Honestly, this was much closer than the score really shows. Only a difference of not even half a point per start. 12 starts makes a big difference. One of the biggest things that hurt the Kings in this matchup, though, was Dustin Byfuglien with 12 penalty minutes on the week. -1 points, obviously doesn't do anything for you. And he's a guy that's always good for hits, for blocks. He's always very active on both sides of the ice. And then you had, obviously, single digits from Jonathan Toews, Stepan, Soderberg, and like you said, Patrice Bergeron being out for all last week really hurt because he's been on fire all of this year. And I mean, you look at the stats that we have here, only a difference of 4 goals, obviously 10 assists, and a lot of that's going to be due to the starts. But they had 10 power play points compared to the Ducks only 6. Obviously, they out-hit them but didn't out-block them. I think if we see them match up again later this year and the LA Kings are active with their lineup, they could overthrow the Ducks as an upset. I really would not be surprised if that happens later this year.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So why don't you go ahead?
Have a very solid team.
Why don't you go ahead and start this one off for us, since I know you'll have some fun with it, with the Vegas Golden Knights losing to the Nashville Predators. And the Predators have actually been a good team that they even upset me a couple weeks ago. So why don't you take the lead on this one to start it?
The Predators are a sneaky good team. Nice to see Chris keep losing week in and week out here all the past 2 weeks. Mikko Koivu beat out for the Wild is big. He's puts a lot of assists from the so Wild, but it's nice to see the Preds take him over. The Preds also have a sneaky good team. They got some good young guys, and I traded them. Donato, I think I've had high hopes on him. He put up 9 points all week. Good to see. William Karlsson, another good young guy. But the thing is, he didn't really have much other than Krug, and Nikita Kucherov, I guess, and Elias Lindholm. He has a solid fundamental team who will put up, a lot of 15 points, 14 points, 13 points, stuff like that. He's got other few standout guys, but he has a good, solid fundamental to rely on. A set 2 guys to put up 30-some points every week, and I just get that from Elias Lindholm and Torrey Krug this week. But I don't think he really needs that. He's got a good, solid team that will put up consistent points. Vegas, on the other hand, good to see him lose. Sidney Crosby only put up 20. Sidney Crosby's a guy you have to rely on to put up a lot of points weekly. Didn't do this week, which hurts, I think, which is a lot this week because, if he would have put up 9 more points down to 30, it'd be that even a step closer to beating the Preds. And I think that really hurts the Knights. I think if he was back this week, Crosby puts up a couple more goals they would have had this week. And Backstrom, I didn't even see that. Backstrom only put up 10 points. It's absurd. 1 assist this week for Nicholas Backstrom is insane. Knights probably would have had this week if their players had some better matchups, some better play, but good to see them fall. The Preds, love to see it.
I think one of the other disappointments on this week is definitely Jeff Skinner of the Buffalo Sabres, who only put up 8.5 points when he's been averaging almost 6.5 plus every game. I mean, for him to only put up 2 assists, 2 penalty minutes, 5 shots on goal, it's a really disappointing week. Obviously, Vegas was very, very close. You can see these teams played very close against each other. Vegas had the advantage in goalie points from 29 to 13. Obviously, the skaters made a bigger difference, but I mean, both had 60 starts. Both were just over 5 points per start. Similar goals, similar assists, 12 power play points for both. This one is just so hard. It was a heartbreaking loss for Vegas. But honestly, I know you're not sad to see him lose. I'm not either at this point. I want to catch up to that division lead and try and jump up where I know where we belong. And we had Elias Lindholm put up 31 points. You had Braden Point, who I traded away to Vegas, put up 31 points, and defenseman Torrey Krug put up 29.9 for Nashville. This is going to be a fun matchup, and I wonder if there's a rivalry here that could be one of the obviously different divisions, but a little bit of a rivalry that we see, especially if that loss comes to bite them later in the year.
Oh, for sure.
And now to my favorite matchup of the week. Obviously, the Minnesota Wild took on the Chicago Blackhawks, and it's unfortunate just the way that this season has played out for the both of us. And it was do or die for both of us at this point, just because of the way it started out. You were sitting at 5-4. I was sitting at 4-5. We both needed the win, and unfortunately, there's no way we could have done it unless we tied, and that would have just hurt us more because of the fact that we would have fallen even further from the Vegas Golden Knights. But I honestly thought you were going to beat me. That 20-point difference came pretty much on the last day. I mean, you look at the stats that we've got here. We put up more points with our skaters alone than a lot of teams did total this week. I had 351.9. You had 332.6. Both of us almost 5.5. I was at 5.5 points per start. You were at 5.42. You had 40 helpers on the week, which was absolutely insane. The fact that you had 40 assists.
Yeah, I love it.
Hey, they're not worth as much as goals, but they're very important just as much, and they're a lot easier to get. You had 4 game-winning goals. I had 5. I out-hit you, but you had the hat trick from Brock Bozer, and I believe that came on Sunday as well. Which
that came with yeah. Pedersen put up 4 assists that day too, so that helped me put up to my 40 total.
And I know going into Sunday, I had a 48-point lead. I was talking to Chris about it, and you had 15 players start on Sunday. I had 10, I believe. And that was, I really thought I was going to lose again because of the fact that that's the way my season's gone. I've been sitting here all year just going, okay, don't sell off, don't do anything crazy because it's going to come around. It has to. The bad luck can't remain there. And even on Sunday, you outscored me 91 points to 65.9. Pedersen put up 20. Like I said, Bozer had the hat trick that day for 16 points. I don't know what else to say about this matchup. The fact that it was so damn close. It was almost heartbreaking for me when I saw how close it was after Pedersen and Bozer did what they did early on Sunday.
I can't believe it. I honestly can't believe it. Pedersen, Brock Besser, my UND hero. I can't believe it. I literally can't believe it. I thought when those two put up that showing on Sunday, I thought I had that shit clinched. I really did. I saw that. I was like, holy shit, way by me, fantasy all-star. Besser's putting up 3 goals. No big deal. UND hero, like I said. I thought I had it. I really did. I can't believe that I sat Sunday. I watched my shit-ass football game play shitty. I looked over at hockey like, I have a chance. I can still get a W from this week. I can still do it. I was like, we're raised a little bit more after that crushing Bills game. I was like, oh, I can do it. I have a chance here. I I'm amazing at hockey fantasy, and I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened. You had 70 starts, which is absolutely insane. 70 starts is insanity. That is so many starts.
You were right there with 67, so it's not like you're far off.
Nope, 70 made the difference. Those 3 starts made the difference.
Well, and one of them was actually Koskinen for the Edmonton Oilers that I picked up on Saturday night because obviously Corey Crawford for the Hawks has been really bad this year. I saw Koskinen was going to get the start on Sunday, so I figured, it's against Calgary who could put up points, but I just need that start, and he ended up getting the shutout and the win for 10 points. So
I can't believe it.
Obviously, 3 stars of the week. 2 of them came from mine with Sean Monahan and Steven Stamkos. And then, like you mentioned, Elias Pettersson putting up 33.8. Absolute insane week for both of us. Yeah, he is. A lot of them are. There's a lot of youth that's really fun to watch.
I can't believe Sean gave him to me.
Like you said, he's going for that MLB title. He's coming for Keith. He's coming for me. Mm-hmm. And I know him and I have had kind of a Yankees-Boston type rivalry of, okay, he made a move, now I have to make a move. And it's been fun to watch. So why don't we
those MLB trends have been insane.
Let's get into week 11. We do have the schedule here, and we kind of wanted to do a little game, kind of a quick preview, since it's very hard to really do an NFL type preview because of the fact that it's all week. You have starts all week. You have teams that may not set their lineup for a day, which obviously makes a difference. It's harder to predict, but we'll just kind of go quickly through the matchups and give each of our predictions. So first we have the 8-2 Ducks taking on the 3-7 New York Rangers. Who are you taking in this matchup, Mac?
This is obviously the Ducks. Vic is very iffy about setting his lineup. So I got Ducks here. They have a solid team all around. Duchesne's still out, looks like. So I got to go Ducks for sure.
Even if he were to set his lineup, I don't know how much talent he has enough to do it, especially with the way the Ducks have been performing. So obviously give me Anaheim Mighty Ducks in their flying V formation. Now, Vegas and Tampa Bay Lightning, I almost wanted to go and make this my upset pick of the week. I just couldn't do it. There's some work that Tampa Bay has to still do before they get my full confidence going into any week, but I'm going to take Vegas. What about you, Mac?
I'm going to go Vegas here, too. Like I said, Tampa Bay hasn't shown what they can do full year yet. I got to go Vegas as well.
Now, Blackhawks taking on LA. Who are you taking this week in this matchup?
In Chicago here. I'm going you. You have a solid team. Stammer already put him 20 points this week. It's big. This is tough. This actually might be a lot closer than if the Kings keep setting the line. This might actually be a really close week, but I'm gonna have to go you here for sure.
I'm gonna take myself as well. Of course, I've been able to perform on offense. It's just my defense, quote unquote defense, has not been there. Lady Luck has not been on my side, and it's actually 116 to 99.9 right now. The LA Kings are right on my ass, so it's just another tense week, just like it was against you, Mac. I don't feel 100% comfortable with it just yet, but it's a long time to go.
I'd love to see upset.
I'm sure you would, especially if the Vegas can get upset too, and you can move into first place. And then we've got the Nashville Predators taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. Like you said when we were talking about their matchup, the Nashville Predators are a very sneaky team. They've come up with a couple of upsets this year, even though they are sitting at 4-6, I believe, on the year. They've had a team, and it's just more been whether or not their lineup is set, and it's partly just due to, I'm sure, busy schedule, whatever it is. But if they get that lineup set, they can be a very dangerous team. Who are you taking between the Hurricanes and the Preds?
I gotta go Preds here for sure. They, like I said, they have some good team. I don't see Sean's got a good young team, but I think they are reliable to produce week in, week out. And I think the Predators are a much more reliable, produce week in, week out sort of team. I got to go with Preds here.
I agree. And with him, especially moving a lot of his young guys, he does have Sebastian Aho. He does have a couple of other guys, but moving guys like Pettersson and Nathan McKinnon obviously is a big hit to his offense. And Rasmus Dahlin has not performed the way that on the year that we thought he might. So I'm going to take the Preds.
Yep. Good choice. Good choice.
And then I'll consider that an upset of the week, considering that the Hurricanes are 6-4 compared to the Nashville Preds at 4-6. So especially with you having the last matchup, why don't you go ahead and lead this one off?
My team, I put a lot into this team. A lot. Alex Pettersson. Take him out last week. I'm expecting big guys this week. Dump the puck, dump and chase, move the puck, pass it. Looking for more than 40 assists this week, big time. Looking for more than 28 goals this week. I'm looking to upset Keith here. Keith stands no chance. I'm down, but like I said, it's all about Sunday. My team's a Sunday kind of team. I'll start fucking 18 guys Sunday and show them, and just make you sweat, make you sweat all week long. And I'm gonna upset you Sunday, and I'm excited. I think I'm gonna win this week. I really do.
I wanted to convince myself to go with you. The one thing that made me nervous about your matchup is I don't know how you say it exactly, but Couturier, I think, or Couturier. I'm not sure how exactly.
Sean Couturier. I can't. You got me screwed up too.
We'll go Couturier.
God damn it.
Well, that was one of my biggest things that made the difference in me picking this game. I'm going to go the Avalanche. I'm worried about him not suiting up for the Flyers. And if he does not hit the ice, it's a big blow to your team. He's been really, really good this year. And even though you do have Pettersson on your team now, you have Tavares, who's been really hot this year. Him being Couturier being out of your lineup makes me nervous. And that was probably the deal breaker for me, just because you two are very similar, but the injuries do not favor you at this point. So I'm hoping that it plays out that way, but I'd like to see when, especially after you lost to Chris. So since I still have you here, and I know this is mostly NHL, but we will end up discussing the NFL picks, and I will have you make your picks on the NFL show when we do it later this week. I'm really excited to see what happens. I'm glad that I've got a team in the playoffs for the first time this year. Obviously, baseball I kind of threw away. I wanted to do the quick rebuild, and it sucks to see you go out so early. I would have liked to face you again, but I mean, we've got NHL, and especially with the way our division's playing out, we've got plenty of time to duke it out. I think we've got one more matchup together in NHL, so that should be interesting.
For sure. NFL was depressing. It was Vic. Shout out to Vic. Gave me the NFL Sunday pass. Cried to myself. I watched the Bills not let Josh Allen just run all over the place. They kept handing off the fucking ball for some reason. That's stupid football. Let Josh Allen run by himself and throw it up and down the field. I don't know why you would hand it off anymore. Dumb. So like calling up the Bills and be like, why the fuck are you running? Why are you giving? You're doing 1 yard runs. Like, this is a joke. Like, let Josh Allen use his long ass legs and take 15-yard strides at a time and get down the field. Like, it's, he ran for 101 yards. He had a touchdown. Matt Ryan. I was for the start of that day, I was laughing to myself. I was like, Matt Ryan has 5 points. 5 points in the third quarter. Like, Calvin Ridley hasn't yet to touch the fucking ball. I was like, this is absurd. Isaiah Crowell out. Drake hasn't had that big of a game yet. Hines didn't have a good game. I was like, oh, this is Tyreek Hill got hurt. I was like, oh, fuck, fantastic. I'm like, everything is falling into place. Literally everything's falling. Everything that needed to happen for me to win happened. I said, Matt Ryan got to be Mr. fucking hero and try to come back from like 35 points or whatever it was. Stupid. It made no sense. He's probably betting the over, so he had to try there in the last quarter. Dumb. They should have sat him to save him, keep him healthy. He could have gotten hurt. Dangerous play there, but Falcons. But he's definitely somebody on our teams was betting the over, and they made him throw the ball around. You know, fucking Tyreek Hill coming back. His foot's gonna have to be amputated now. Let him come back in the game. His foot's like gonna fall off. These guys are trying to be heroes, and it didn't help my situation. Tyreek Hill needed to be a hero and run up and down the field on a dead foot. Matt Ryan needed to hit the over. Ridiculous. Juju Smith-Schuster put up 33 points in Big Ben, like shed his pants and almost died on the field, and decided to come back and also be a hero. Ridiculous. Everything that could have happened, that should have happened for me to win, happened, and then everything that needed not to happen happened in like a span of 30. It was heartbreaking. Yeah, it just wasn't my week. Josh Allen had the 2 interceptions, the fumble. Zay Jones was never fucking targeted. Like, what happened? Like, Zay Jones kept dropping passes left and right. Don't know what happened to him. Allen Robinson put up 9. Robert Woods put up 13. That low-scoring game, big defense. Fuck the Chicago Bears defense. They should have They should have sucked. It should have been college defenses out there. That's what I needed. It was bad. James Washington was a big part of the offense that week with 2 receptions. Good job, Big Ben. Good confidence in him. He needs to be fired. He doesn't need a job anymore. Chris Boswell fucking sucks. He slipped on that shitty-ass field. Oakland, thank God they're moving to Vegas because their field is like a middle school football field. Boswell can't stay steady and slips, cost me points. It's ridiculous. Boswell sucks. Why do kickers suck all of a sudden? After the Minnesota fucking shank that I watched live with like 100 people hockey rink, that was the most depressing point of my life. Eyes and everybody like put their heads on the side. Ever since then, kickers have been unreliable. Why? This isn't college football. This is the fucking NFL. Why are kickers like this? Why is everybody have the yips all of a sudden? It's ridiculous. I can't win fantasy football when people are trying to find kickers at the yips. It's stupid. It's dumb.
I will say you can get your revenge on Chris next week, actually, in hockey, because you do face off against him, and that'll be fun for the division. That'll be fun to see what happens. So get through this week, and then you can face him and take him down there.
He stands up like a chance. There's no way.
You got any final comments on NHL for us this week, Mac, or no? Keith stands no chance. Has me pissed. So I'm going on a rant and taking on everyone I face. It's over for everybody in this league. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Well, now it's 101-94, so you're right there with him. Yeah. I mean, he had
sweat till Sunday, like I said. I want him to be anxious all week long.
Well, and he has Max Domi currently at negative 8.2 because of 10 penalty minutes after yesterday.
Max Domi's a hothead. I told him to pick him up. I'm pretty sure I told him to pick him up way long ago. So that was me playing. I knew it would happen. I told Kevin. Keith hit me up. I keep saying Kevin. Keith hit me up in the DMs weeks ago. I was like, should I pick up Max Domi? I was like, hell yeah, pick up Max Domi. Playing the long con. Like I said, you guys stand no chance. I'm thinking weeks ahead here. Weeks ahead.
Good to see that you're looking ahead and planning it out and sabotaging who you need to when it comes to it.
Exactly.
But we will see you guys later this week for the NFL preview. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and we will talk to you later.